Warm greetings. This is Rod McNair with a webcast for Tomorrow's World. Will California run out of water? California is now in the fourth year of a devastating drought, one of the worst in its history. Water levels are dangerously low in the reservoirs that supply the state with water. Wyatt Ciesielka, in a webcast back in February, reported that in the month of January, California had had no rain, and in a normally wet month, and it was in a serious drought condition. Since that time, the situation hasn't gotten any better. On April 1st, Governor Jerry Brown instituted a mandatory 25% cut across the board of water use for all Californians. And about 10% of the state's farmland, 1 million acres, will get no water this year. 1 million acres, think about it. This is going to have serious economic effects on California and the nation if the drought persists. David Widener on the MarketWatch.com website reports that some economists predict a sharp increase of 28% to even 34% of the prices of many crops that are sold across the country, including lettuce, berries, broccoli, grapes, melons, tomatoes, peppers, packaged salads, nuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios. All of these are going to, if the drought persists, be a lot more expensive very soon. For right now, farmers are drawing on underground lakes and aquifers. About half of the water used by the state last year came from underground. How long that lasts is anybody's guess. Others are suggesting building desalination plants to purify salt water. Anthony Curry from Reuters.com said this in an article on that website entitled "California Drought May Find Relief from Down Under." The author talks about how the city of Melbourne, Australia, used desalination plants to help respond to their drought a few years ago. But he also acknowledges that California is much bigger and much more complicated politically than one city, so it's very difficult to deal with this problem in California. There's one idea, though, that virtually no one is suggesting to deal with this problem, and that's prayer. What about prayer? Does that sound silly, to pray for rain? In this day and age, in the 21st century, to actually pray to the God in heaven for rain. Almost 3,000 years ago, King Solomon prayed to God at the dedication of the temple in Jerusalem. He prayed for protection, for help, for his people, that God would guide his people. And here was God's response. It's found in 2 Chronicles 7, verse 12. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said to him, "I have heard your prayer, and I have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. When I shut up heaven, and there's no rain, or command the locusts to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, and heal their land." Believe it or not, that's where we are now. Some will scoff. Some will say God is far off and not involved in our lives. Some will say God is dead. But what happens when the water shuts off? What happens when there's no food? What happens when people are hungry? What happens when you are hungry? Who will feed everyone? The scoffers? Jesus Christ predicted that in the times just before His return, there will be great famines and pestilences. That's in Matthew chapter 24. For those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, when we see Bible prophecy being fulfilled, it's time to get our house in order. Watch world events. Watch the drought in California. And watch the weather all around the world. This drought right now may break for a time, but we are living in the last days. And eventually our nations will see crises that will end in catastrophe. But in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 29, God says something very encouraging to His people, and He says it to us today. He says, "But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find Him if you seek Him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you're in distress, and all these things come upon you in the latter days," the end time, the time just before Christ's return, He says, when you turn to the Lord your God and obey His voice, He will hear us. Pray that our people would repent. And most importantly, pray to God yourself and do what you need to do to draw near to Him. Thanks for watching, and for more information, video, and material on biblical and news topics, please visit us on Facebook or at tomorrowsworld.org.